to be listening to two candidates tell you why they believe they are the best person to serve you and your fellow citizens as a judge at the 46th District Court. A judge is asked every day to make important decisions, apply the law, and act as society's referee. If the judge is biased, incompetent, or intemperate, then everybody loses and justice is not served. On November 5th, you will be asked to make one of the most important decisions voters are called upon to make. This decision as to who should serve as judge in your district, probate, circuit, and appeal courts, and the Michigan Supreme Court. Perhaps the least understood elections are the judicial elections. Therefore, the Oakland County Bar Association, in collaboration with the League of Women Voters of Oakland area, the Oakland County Legal News, and the Oakland County Times, conduct judicial candidate forums in each district and court in Oakland County with a contested race to help you make the important selection of the appropriate judge, a decision that could affect you and your family for years to come. The American Bar Association, a national association for lawyers that has advised American presidents for over 50 years on the selection of judges, has outlined the following 8 factors to consider in selecting good, honest, and competent and hardworking judges. We endorse these factors and recommend them for your consideration as well. So when you're thinking about your questions for tonight, please think and keep these factors in consideration. So the first is integrity. Is the candidate honest and open? Have they led an exemplary life? And will they be an example to those whose cases they must decide? The second factor is legal knowledge and ability. Has the candidate demonstrated knowledge of the law, either by good grades in law school, teaching at seminars, or simply demonstrating that they speak and write clearly and well? The third factor is professional experience. It is difficult to think of a judge who can competently hear disputes if the judge has not had much experience in the courtroom as a lawyer or other equivalent experience resolving disputes. The fourth factor is judicial temperament. Will the candidate be a judge who has a positive attitude, acts professionally, and treats all people with dignity and respect? And most importantly, is the candidate likely to remain impartial throughout all of the dispute resolution process? The fifth factor is diligence. Is the candidate likely to be a hard worker who efficiently manages a caseload and decides cases promptly and is always fully prepared? The sixth factor, what is the candidate's state of health? Is there anything about the candidate's physical or mental health that would interfere with their ability to complete an entire term or perform the duties of a judge? The seventh factor is financial responsibility. Has the individual demonstrated prudence and responsibility in their own financial affairs? Does the candidate's record of financial responsibility reflect on whether they would serve the citizenry well? And the eighth and final factor is the question of public service. Serving on the judiciary is an ultimate act of public service. Has the candidate demonstrated a worthiness to accept this awesome position of responsibility by showing leadership in other organizations that have benefited the community throughout their past life? We strongly urge you to keep these factors in mind as you listen to the candidates speak, and most importantly, remember to vote on the nonpartisan judicial ballot. So when you vote a straight ticket, you actually have to go to this section for nonpartisan, or you could actually miss voting for the judge. Thank you for your attention and your interest in good government. And now, here is Judy Bateman from the League of Women Voters, Oakland area, our forum moderator. And I would just ask that you silence your cell phones. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Welcome to this forum for the 46th District Court candidate forum for 46th District Court. Today is September 12, 2024. This forum will be featuring the candidates who have filed for the 46th District Court in Oakland County. There are 2 candidates for the term ending January 1st, 2030. Sponsors of this forum are the League of Women Voters Oakland area, the Oakland County Bar Association, the Oakland County Legal News, the Oakland County Times, and Southfield TV. I am Judy Bateman. I am a member of the League of Women Voters of Oakland area. The League of Women Voters is a trusted national, nonpartisan political organization. Our members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we never endorse a candidate, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues that keep our community strong. As a League of Women Voters member, I have the opportunity to contribute in a leadership role such as this that has great impact on local, state, and even national issues. If you are interested in learning about how you can make a similar impact, I would encourage you to visit our website, lwvoa.org. The League of Women Voters, again, in the Oakland County Bar Association, do not endorse any candidate or political party. The Oakland County Legal News may endorse candidates after this forum. The news expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, and the sponsors take no responsibility. The candidates in alphabetical order are Ms. Robin Dillard Rousseau and the Honorable Deborah Nance, incumbent in the 46th District Court. The format for this forum has been established by the sponsors. We ask that candidates answer the questions with their views only and not interrupt another candidate. The candidates will be answering questions from our panelists, Michael Schloff from the OCBA and Eric Franz, editor of the Oakland County Legal News, and questions submitted from the audience. Our screeners are Judge David Lawson, Sarah Kushan, and Carrie Melkonian. The format is as follows. All candidates will be given 1 minute for opening statements in alphabetical order. Closing statements will be 1 minute in reverse alphabetical order. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question. The first candidate to answer a question will be rotated, so we will go back and forth as to who goes first. All candidates will be allowed equal time to answer questions. Terry Benjamin, a league member, will be the timer and indicate to candidates when they have 15 seconds left and then when they must stop speaking. We will begin the 1 minute opening statements with Ms. Dillard Rousseau.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robin Dillard Rousseau, and I am running to be your next judge of the 46th District Court. I have interacted with the 46th District Court for well over 19 years, and for the majority of my career, I've been a public servant. And I think you heard the 8 factors you could just consider when you're looking at your next judge. But not only do I have sound public service, I also have judicial and court administration experience. I am intimately aware of the operations of the court, and I have a platform that will ensure that there is true access to justice. The district court is a seat that is earned every election. It involves the public trust. I'm proud to be endorsed by a diverse group of individuals, over 40 leaders and organizations that believe in my ability to bring integrity back to this seat at the 46th District Court. These endorsements reflect the trust that the community has within me, and it's my commitment to lead with honesty and with justice. I'm running for this position because the court deserves better. Our community deserves better. And I believe that after this evening, after you hear my responses, you will believe that I am the best candidate for the position, given my experience, my accountability, and my dedication to access to justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge Nance.
Good evening. For those of you that have not met me before this evening or in the community, I'm Judge Deborah Nance. You elected me in 2012, you re-elected me in 2018, and now I'm running for another 6-year term. I have 25 years of legal experience, 12 years on the bench. Prior to that, I brought in over a decade of experience as an administrator, manager, and director. I graduated Wayne State University Law School. I worked in the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office, the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, the Ford Motor Company Office of Litigation of the General Counsel, and I practiced at a mid-sized law firm for 13 years prior to taking the bench. I am the only candidate in this race with hundreds of thousands of cases in my experience. I have over 200,000 cases that I have personally adjudicated. I have over 1,000 felony exams that I have personally adjudicated. I am involved in fraud cases, felonies, misdemeanors. The district court carries quite a bit of those cases, and I come to you also once again for another 6-year term. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Nance. We will now begin the question segment of the forum. We will begin with Mr. Schloff, And he's going to start with Ms. Dillard Rousseau first, and then we will get, the next questions will start with Ms. Judge Nance. Okay.
Thank you. I'm Mike Schloff. I'm the co-chairman of the Oakland County Bar Association Judicial Candidate Committee. As a representative of the OCBA, which is one of the sponsoring entities for this forum, I want to remind the candidates and, of course, inform the public that this is not a debate. I mean, we've all seen the presidential debate. We know what that was like the other day. This is not a debate. It's not intended to be a debate. It is a candidate forum. The intent of this forum is to allow each candidate to showcase their own qualifications independently. Accordingly, candidates are not permitted to criticize another candidate or engage another candidate in any of their comments. And I want to welcome both Judge Nance and Ms. Dillard Rousseau to our forum. On behalf of our thousands of Oakland County Bar members, we are all very thankful that these two highly qualified and competent candidates for this important judicial position are participating. Now, I would address both of you with the same question, and I think we're going to start with Ms. Dillard Rousseau for this question. You both have very similar backgrounds. You both have experience as assistant prosecutors. You both have experience in private practice. And you both have held judicial positions. Judge Nance as a sitting judge and Ms. Dillard Rousseau as a long-serving magistrate. So my question to each of you is, what experience that you have had has had the most significance on your ability, in your judgment, to be a district judge?
Absolutely. So in thinking about experience, you want to think about expertise, because experience is just that. What I am most proud of right now is the work that I'm doing in Wayne County. I am the director of the Indigent Defense Services Department, and in that position, I oversee the creation, if you will, of the department that oversees all of the attorneys who take felony-level trial cases out of Wayne County. Wayne County is the largest system in Michigan. It handles over 15,000 felony cases a year. And I am proud that we are shaping and transforming what has been known as a constitutionally deficient system into a model for the state of Michigan. And I think that's very important because it involves several facets, if you will. I have to be an administrator. I'm responsible for over $100 million in grant funding, so I know what it means to be a fiscal steward of funds. I'm also a person who, in this position, has to make strategic thinking and critical thinking decisions. And I think that's important for a judicial seat. It's not just about putting on a robe. It's not just about sitting in a seat. It's about what is the work that you've done that makes you qualified to hold the position. And it takes more than just litigation. It also takes administration and other factors that contribute to making a well-rounded jurist.
Thank you. Judge Nance, same question, please.
I am most proud of my record, first of all. As an attorney, as a member of the legal profession for the last 25 years, I'm extremely proud to say that there has never been a litigant in my courtroom, an attorney, or a member of this community that has ever filed a complaint against me with any ethics organization. I have conducted myself and my behavior both on and off the bench in an exemplary manner. I am proud, secondly, that I've been previously rated extremely well qualified, outstanding, by the Wolverine Bar Association, the largest association of attorneys in Wayne County. I've also received the Award for Judicial Excellence by the Oakland County Women Lawyers Association. I am proud of my commitment to community service. From the time that I took the bench, I stepped off the bench and into the community, from classrooms to churches to synagogues to community association meetings, and also for 5 years with Your Best Chance with Judge Nance on Saturday evenings to educate.
Thank you, Judge Nance.
Thank you. We'll now have Mr. Franz begin his questioning with Judge Nance.
Good evening. I just want to thank both candidates for throwing their hat into the ring and keeping our system functioning. You both have careers in public service. I'm wondering, what has inspired you to seek a seat on the bench, and what inspired you to become a public servant in the first place?
I would answer that by saying, first of all, my passion for justice. And in my opinion, justice is the ability to take a situation and determine, not based upon race or creed or color or class, but to take a situation, take aside or set aside any biases that we may have, because all of us have implicit biases. Set aside those biases and become the neutral arbiter of a situation in order to provide justice. And justice is a well-reasoned, deserved outcome, not only for the accused, but for the victim, as well as for the community. I was motivated to do that as a young person, and I enjoy each and every day I spend on the bench currently doing just that, justice.
Can you repeat the question?
Just what has inspired you to seek a seat on the bench, and what inspired you in general to just become a public servant, to serve the public?
Thank you. So my decision to go into public service was born of just a background of service from my family. I come from a union home. My mother was a public school teacher. My father worked at Ford. And so I spent many Saturdays at the Union Hall eating donuts at the local 600. But I also spent time understanding what it meant to be in the community. And so with that background, when I graduated law school, I never thought I would be a criminal practitioner, but I knew I wanted to go into public service. So when I became an assistant attorney general with the state of Michigan, where I was a federal trial attorney representing the Michigan Department of Corrections, it was then that I realized that the difference that you can make in public service is astounding. And so through that, I decided to go work as an assistant prosecutor, not as an intern, but as an assistant prosecuting attorney. And in that particular position, I was able to help shape the community from that perspective. But again, I then became a magistrate, so I was able to have a judicial perspective, and then now I'm in criminal defense. And I think that well-rounded perspective in public service makes me a unique candidate for this position. And it is my background, it is my being raised by community service-oriented parents that led me to want to be in this position. And really, our community deserves better.
All right, well, this is an audience question, and we'll start with Ms. Dillard-Rousseau. Where do you stand on ending cash bail for low-level offenses?
That's an interesting question, because since I work in indigent defense right now, bail and bonds are a hot topic and an important one. The work that we're doing in Wayne County, if you all were aware, the 36th District Court was the subject of a lawsuit because of their bail and bond setting tactics. What I believe is that bail should be reviewed appropriately by the magistrate. It is based on an individual basis. There is no blanket bail. You can't implement bail for specific types of crimes across the board. That is not something that is proper, and it is frankly illegal. But what I do believe is that bail could be appropriate, but it should be looked at from a holistic perspective for the individual. That is important. And the work that we're doing in Wayne County, where we employ social workers and other holistic defense practitioners, gives us an opportunity to ensure that we're making a sound argument to the magistrate when we're getting that bail set. And then if that bail is improper, it can be reviewed.
Thank you. Judge Nance.
Bail and bonds are extremely important. You must recognize that not everyone who is pulled over for a ticket is culpable. Not every individual who is charged with an offense is guilty. Not every person who is sued by a credit card company, even in a civil matter, is liable. And I think that there is a very high importance to the bail and bond issue, because you may be holding someone who is not even culpable or liable for that particular offense. So bail has to be taken on an individualized basis. It should not be just that a privilege of the wealthy who can afford to bail or bond themselves out and then leave the situation. There are people who are working, the working poor sometimes in our community, that need the same access to an opportunity to get out of jail, speak with their attorneys, get the proper legal defense, and then come back into the court system without being held because they can't pay the bond.
Thank you. Again, cell phones, please check. Okay. Mr. Slough will now start his questions, and he will start with Judge Nance.
Thank you. As both of you candidates know, the 46th District Court has for a long time used the services of a magistrate, multiple magistrates, and they have always been appointed by the sitting district court judges. Ms. Dillard-Rousseau, you yourself have served as a magistrate in this court for many years. Judge Nance, you have had 2 terms, 12 years on the bench, and you have appointed magistrates during the time you've been a judge. So I'd like to ask each one of you, starting with Judge Nance, what is your position on the use of magistrates in your court, And what is your comment on the scope of the duties that they should entertain?
I enjoy the fact that we have such a variety of magistrates that come from different backgrounds and different experiences. But please understand, a magistrate does not handle all of the roles that a judge handles. As a matter of fact, the decisions that magistrates make are reviewed by the judge. If a magistrate makes a decision regarding bond, that bond can be reviewed for a change once it comes to the judge. That bond may not have been appropriately set based upon the circumstances that now come before the judge. I also, as a sitting judge, review the small claims decisions of magistrates. We allow in our court for magistrates to handle small claims, but the small claim appeals come to the judge. So those are simply the basic situations that are handled by magistrates. Magistrates do not handle jury trials. They do not do bench trials. They do not conduct felony exams. They do not do landlord-tenant cases or municipal cases involving residents. Those formal hearings are held only by the judge.
Mr. LaRusso?
Yes, thank you. So what's interesting is that at the 46th, the chief judge appoints the magistrates, and I think that's very important because magistrates are collaborators with the judges. Magistrates perform functions that really are very important, i.e. arraignments, which happen 365 days a year. That is the first step for a criminal matter. And it is important that you have sound magistrates who can make sound decisions because you're dealing with people's liberties at that point. Magistrates also handle small claims matters where individuals who have no legal representation are seeking some sort of resolution. So having that compassion is important, even more so than them just paying an attorney and going before a judge. So I think it's important to look at magistrates as collaborators with the jurists. It's important to have them. At some courts, they do perform preliminary examinations, not at the 46th, of course, but they serve an intended purpose, or they wouldn't exist. So I think we have to think of them as, again, in partnership with the judges, performing functions such as search warrants, things that really keep the train moving, and to view them as less than partners is detrimental.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Franz will now start his questions with Ms. Dillard-Rousseau.
There's been several surveys and things over the past few years, some of which come from the National Center for States Courts, which have shown a decline in public trust in the court system. As a member of the bench, how would you help foster public trust in the court system?
So starting with community engagement, I think it's important that individuals realize that we're hired by the voting public. We work for the people, and we have to earn our positions every single election. And I think you foster an atmosphere of trust by being transparent. And by transparency, I mean judges should be in the community. There's nothing in the judicial canons that prevent us from community service. Judges should also seek to be very transparent in court proceedings. We shouldn't be shielding what's happening in our courtrooms. We should make them open and available so that people understand what is happening in our legal proceedings. When we make decisions as judges, we should make sound decisions, making sure that they're clear and concise so that the parties who are in the courtroom, even if they're not happy with the decision, they understand why the judge made it. So these are the types of things that foster trust with our judicial system. And if I'm elected, I would be excited to bring back that community engagement because it is lacking at the 46th right now. And by continuing to engage the community, continuing to keep our courtrooms open where proper, I think will help build up our public trust because, again, it's lacking at the 46th District Court at this time.
Well, it certainly isn't lacking on my behalf. I believe, and my judicial philosophy is that people are afraid to come to court. Why? They're afraid of the process because they don't know about the process. Perhaps they're even afraid of the judge. I find that if you are in the community and people get to know you, people get to see you at their church, they get to see you at their community center, you come to their homeowner associations, they are less afraid of the process and therefore participate more. When I first got to the bench, I got off the ground running with a program that I developed called Careers in the Courtroom. I went into schools, high schools, middle schools, colleges, even Michigan State Law School, explaining to students how to become prosecutors or defense attorneys, judges, even jurors. I also then developed a program for how to prepare for your day in court. I took that to community associations. I developed a program for domestic violence, which I took to churches. I also developed the town hall for the opioid epidemic when it was at its height. Gave away over 200 Narcan kits and was even responsible for assisting Chief Hawkins at the time in bringing Narcan kits into the police units. So, been very active in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have an audience question now that will start with Judge Nance. For the qualities of character and temperament, do you believe voters should take into account a candidate's general conduct away from court?
I certainly do. We are elected officials that are judges 24 hours a day. We live in a very small community here in Southfield, Lathrop, Beverly, Bingham, and Franklin. I very often have people who will stop me at a grocery store and whisper to me, "Hello, Judge." I may not recognize them. I do business locally in the community with the dry cleaner or the local dentist. I've even had defendants in my courtroom who have been charged that I've done business with, and in those situations, it's always appropriate to disclose even that connection. But judges, unlike firemen or police officers, are required to live in our community. So we're going to know people in the community simply from doing business here and having that particular connection. I think it's important that people know who you are in a small community, and my colleagues in Detroit very often are not known because it's such a large city. They can go places and encounter people and have people not know who they are, but not necessarily here. So we are on, if you will, in terms of our behavior 100% of the time.
Thank you. Ms. Dillard-Rousseau.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. For the qualities of character and temperament, do you believe voters should take into account a candidate's general conduct away from the court?
Absolutely. And I think as a candidate for a judicial office, which is a higher standard, if you will, one should be very cognizant of how their behavior looks at every facet of their life. And I think in my experience, I've demonstrated that I have integrity both behind closed doors and in person, which is why I've gotten the support that I've gotten and the endorsements that I've gotten. I believe that individuals who know me and who know my character know that I have sound decision-making skills, I'm a critical thinker, and I'm always thinking 2 steps ahead about perception. You shouldn't do things just because you can. You should always seek to do right, and you should always be aware that the decisions that you make could have an effect for your next position in life. And I certainly think that when you're a sitting judge, you should certainly exercise good behavior both on and off the bench, but even more so because you are a sitting judge. It carries a higher level and standard of trust. And so individuals should see you in the community as a person that they can believe in. They should see you as a person that when you're on the bench, they get the same person on and off the bench. It shouldn't be a mask that you put on when you go and sit on the bench. And so I think people who know me know that I will bring that type of temperament, I will bring that type of integrity to the bench, and the person that they see here now will be the same person that's on the bench.
Thank you. Mr. Schloff will now ask the first question of Ms. Dillard-Rousseau.
I would respectfully ask each of the candidates to abide by the time limits, because we only have a limited amount of time. We will get as many questions in as we can. Since COVID, we all know we've led lives greatly influenced by Zoom technology, something that never existed before Zoom in my experience. What is your individual position on the use of Zoom to improve the service to the community given by your court?
Absolutely. So I was a magistrate in 2020 when COVID hit. And criminal arraignments, which happen 365 days a year, we had to immediately shift to Zoom court in order to accommodate those criminal arraignments.
Please be advised that the library will close in 30 minutes. If you need to print out information, check out materials, or get a library card, please do so now.
We won't hold that time.
I know, and I knew it was coming when I heard the bell. And so for me, Zoom court was seamless. I actually was the deputy court administrator as well as a magistrate at the time, so I had the task of assisting our clerks with the use of Zoom. We were all learning it together. We all had to, fly that plane in the middle of the air while fixing it all at the same time. But it was an effective use because it still gave people access to justice, and it still allowed people to get their cases heard. And I think now it is very important because it's efficient. But we also have to take into account that Zoom court does have its limitations, and for instance, for new lawyers. They don't have the opportunity to be in a courtroom necessarily all the time like I did when I was a practitioner starting out. So we have to be cognizant of some of the deficiencies, but in terms of access to justice, it is an effective tool. I was the first to use it at our court because of the criminal arraignments and the necessity of moving to Zoom court. So it should continue, and I think that we are better served by having it.
Thank you. Judge?
It's definitely here to stay, and I have seen a drastic increase in the technology and efficiency understanding of those who come before us on Zoom. There was a point in time in which many litigants did not know how to use it, did not understand how to use it, had to be actually coached into when to turn on their video or how to come into the courtroom properly. But I've seen a drastic increase in the understanding of those using Zoom. I also think it's fascinating to be able to take a case or have a pretrial with a nurse that is actually zooming in from the nurse's station. We've had dentists actually zooming in from their dental offices. We've also had construction workers actually on the construction site zooming in with their hard hats. People no longer are required to sit and spend their morning or their afternoon in a courtroom listening to other cases. But at the same time, I think some of the downside is that many litigants who did listen to other cases got a better understanding of the court process when they arrived. Now they simply zoom in when the time comes or when they hear their case called, and they get less of an understanding. We once had, however, people who court watched, which was a wonderful thing, but now with the advent of, excuse me, so many court shows, it's.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Franz will now start his questions with Judge Nance.
Well, sort of piggybacking off of Mr. Schlaf's question, what would you do as a member of the bench to educate yourself about these new technologies as they come down the line? Such as, do you see any sort of applications for AI, artificial intelligence, in a modern courtroom?
We, as judges, I can remember being at a judicial conference years before COVID, and we never imagined that we would be taking cases on Zoom, much like Skype, which some people might recall. But we found that we were doing it a lot earlier and a lot sooner than we had hoped to. Now, not everyone is a techie. There are some people who enjoy the use of technological advances, and others that have come into the technological age kicking and screaming. Actually, we've lost some judges. Some judges have retired out when they could have run again. Some judges have actually quit the bench because they did not want to accept the new technology. There are those of us who may not be techies, but we get it. It is not rocket science. It can be easily understood. It can be easily assessed. The problem is that it does not always work. Technology is wonderful when it works.
I think that modern courts have to move into the future, and one of the futures is technology. And the technology is there because it makes the court more efficient. And that is what creates access to justice, is efficiency, it's transparency, it's being able to move cases along. And so technology is a huge tool, and that's why there are so many grants and things moving forward in trying to implement technologies in the court. I think we are doing ourselves a disservice if we don't realize that and don't take the time as sitting judges to learn the technology. It can be taught, scaled. The State Court Administrator's Office provides a number of resources for judges to do so, but you have to be not reticent to change. And I think that if I'm elected, I love technology. And to your point about AI, that is the wave of the future, but there are some deficiencies with AI, and I think we have to be very cognizant of that. But as sitting judges, we can't escape technology. We have to be prepared for it. We have to remind our litigants and our general public that it is there. But the bottom line is that it provides that efficiency, it provides that ability to get cases moving and to get people's matters heard. And so it's not going anywhere.
Thank you.
We really need you to turn things off, really. Thank you. This is an audience question. We're going to start with Ms. Dillard Rousseau. Do you have the support of the two sitting judges, Judge Ardvant and Judge Johnson, on the bench? Why or why not?
Absolutely. So when I decided to run in November of last year, Chief Judge Johnson is my mentor. Judge Johnson hired me as a law clerk back in my early years of law school. At the time, Judge Moisey, the Judge Stephen Cooper, and Judge Johnson were the three judges that just really embraced me and gave me my opportunities. And so when I announced that I was running in November, Judge Johnson gave me her full support. Because she has known me, she has known my character, she knows my temperament. She appointed me as a magistrate. She allowed me to become a deputy court administrator, and so I'm grateful for that. Similarly, Judge Arvan and I were magistrates together prior to her becoming a judge. And so we have some familiarity, and we also have some like-mindedness, if you will, because of our positions that we're serving in. And so I have her support. And I think it's important because if I'm elected, this is the first time that the court would actually have 3 sitting judges that have been court administrators. And that is important because courts are moving in the direction that we've just discussed, technology, efficiency, and you need sound court administrators in order to move the court forward. And I'm grateful.
Thank you. Judge Nance.
It is not required to be a court administrator to be a good judge. And I'm going to be very candid on this particular question since it's been posed. For those of you who know me, I'm not part of the club. I have, quite frankly, never been part of the club. I have always had an opponent each time that I've run, and there has been in my district court my colleagues who have supported other people. However, when you look at the kind of commotion that's going on in Hollywood and those who feel that they must do certain things or sacrifice their integrity some way to simply follow what other people want them to do, that has been a problem for them. We've even had a celebrity come out and say, I am not. He's raised his hand and said, I'm not part of the club, and I'm proud not to be part of the club. And clubs exist, and again, these are people who want you to do exactly what they want you to do, the way they want you to do it. They exist in every walk of life, in every industry, from the post office to the plant. You probably know some people in your organizations, and you're not part of the club either, and perhaps proud to be so. But I do have the support, and I just got a new endorsement today from the...
I think your time is up.
representing families and retirees and everyone in between.
Thank you. Mr. Schluff will now start his questions, and he will begin with Judge Nance.
Okay, the questions I think thus far have been kind of easy ones. I'm going to ask each of you a hard question, okay? I'm not going to apologize for it either. Okay, and who is my first?
Judge Nance.
Judge Nance. Judge Nance, in your signed questionnaire answers and even in your opening statement today, you indicated that you had maintained an unblemished disciplinary record for 13 or 14 years as an attorney and 12 years as a judge. You also reported in your questionnaire, though, that a complaint had been filed against you with the Judicial Tenure Commission alleging misconduct as a witness in a proceeding involving another judge, but it occurred away from the court. Now, you stated in your questionnaire answers that that complaint had been dismissed against you, but the Judicial Tenure Commission file that is open to the public shows that that matter is still open, that it has not yet been dismissed. I wonder if you could address that matter.
Well, let me first of all correct you, counsel. That matter is a pending case, and the materials that I submitted indicated that the judge who is to preside over the case has recommended that the case be dismissed, finding no evidence of any misconduct on my part. Now, that matter is still pending before the JTC, and that's at their purview as to whether they're going to follow their own, the judge who's been appointed by the Supreme Court, whether they're going to require someone to conduct a trial on something that they've already determined has no basis to have ever been charged. One of the worst situations you can ever have in life is to be charged of something you've never done. I'm going to sit in the next 6 years as a judge who has been in the place of many of the litigants in my courtroom as being charged with something that they did not do. And it's going to give me a unique perspective, and I think it's going to be a perspective that's going to be very positive for those that come before me, because I've had that experience now. Now I know what it's like.
Thank you. Mr. LaDrusso, totally different question. And I would just say, without you making any comments about your opponent, which are not allowed, and limiting your answer to your qualifications, could you tell this group, why would you choose to run for district judge after a very successful career of perhaps 18 years in practice and probably earning a lot more than you'll make as a judge?
Well, because the community always deserves better. You know, the position of judge includes the public trust. And so when there is distrust, you get challengers. You get people who are running on platforms of transformation like myself. So what I am intending to do is to help restore that public trust. I have gotten endorsements from over 40 leaders and organizations and religious leaders and labor organizations and judges, and I think that speaks volumes about who I am and what they believe is deserving in the seat at the court as well. It doesn't matter that my career has been lengthy. It doesn't matter that I've done a lot of great things. I would be remiss if I didn't try to address the issues in my own backyard. I deserve to live in a community, and my friends and family and these citizens deserve to live in a community with a judiciary that they can trust. And so that's why I'm running.
Thank you. Mr. Franz will start the next questions with Ms. Dillard-Russo.
In this day and age, we know the effects of social media and publicity. What would either of you, we'll start with Ms. Dillard-Russo, what would be your approach to dealing with a highly publicized, difficult, or controversial case that might thrust you into the public eye like that?
So I've had experience with that, even as a sitting magistrate. When I was a magistrate, there was a particular shooting that happened at one of the restaurants over here in Southfield, and the news cameras came into the courtroom. Journalists were in there taking information. I stuck to my position, I stuck to my responsibility, and I did what I had to do. Simply because something is publicized or puts a judicial officer into a public eye, we still have judicial canons that we have to follow. We should not be making public comment on those types of issues. We should remain silent for the most part, and we should let the process play out as it should. So for me, having things show up on social media, having cameras in a room, that's just a part of life. But when you're a judicial officer, you have canons to abide by. You should abide by them, and you should let the case run its course, refraining from any opinion or any other things that could taint the judicial process.
Thank you. Judge Nance, same question.
I've not only had news reporters and cameras in my courtroom, I've had the actual microphones hanging off of my bench. I've not only conducted arraignments, which judges, of course, can't arraign matters, but then we hear matters, unlike the magistrates. And I've had cameras in my courtroom through the entire process. I've had cameras in my courtroom during a very high-profile case in which a person was accused of drunk driving and happened to be the fiance of another judge. And I've actually had the other judge come into my courtroom and sit and observe the proceedings from the back of the courtroom. I have never done anything that I am not proud of. And integrity is just that. It's doing what's right even when no one's watching. And I have judges and major endorsements and organizations and members of clergy who know me, know my court.
Check out materials and collect all printouts at this time. The
That's
library
okay.
will be closed in 15 minutes at 8 p.m. All computers will shut down and the checkout desk will close at 8 p.m.
And regardless of any headlines or any clickbait that you might see on social media, there's some people who believe in you because they know you. Not everybody believes everything they read in the newspaper. The newspapers get it wrong. We know that not every situation in a news report is going to give you all of the facts and certainly none of the evidence. And what I know for sure after my time on the bench is that there are always two sides to every story.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is an audience question. We'll start with Judge Nance. What are your thoughts about high incarceration rates today? And what outreach have you done or will do to help decrease the problem?
High incarceration rates. I have had an opportunity, a very unique opportunity, to meet people, not just numbers, but to actually meet people who have been unjustly incarcerated. I met a young man who had spent 16 years of his life behind bars before being exonerated by the Innocence Project. I met another young man who spent 19 years behind bars after being exonerated with DNA evidence by the Innocence Project. There are people behind bars who are not guilty, and it happens. We have an axiom in the law that says it's better that 10 guilty men go free than one innocent man be convicted. We have innocent people behind bars, and that's why the Innocence Project and projects like it have been so successful. Actually, we need to have more. We need to not allow that to happen in our community, but it is happening. I believe that if I do my job on the bench and the prosecutor does his or her job, and the same for the defense, and the jury does their job, it's less likely, but folks, it can happen.
Ms. Dillard Russo? Can you repeat the question? Yeah. What are your thoughts about the high incarceration rates today, and what outreach have you done or will do to help decrease the problem?
Have done. So working in Wayne County as the director of the Indigent Defense Services Department, I am in a unique position because our office is responsible, if you will, for representation of the indigent that come into the county system. Most recently, we've created in my department the Defender Support Unit, where we employ 3 social workers who provide a resource to the attorney in partnership to give the sitting judge more insight into an individual from a systemic level. High incarcerations exist because a lot of times people did not have sufficient information for sentencing purposes. So the work that we're doing is we're transforming the system while allowing people to get an opportunity to be seen as individuals and not just case numbers. And that has proven to be very effective. That will, in the long run, lower high incarceration rates because sentencings will change, because our social workers are writing mitigation reports. They're providing information for the judge to consider outside of just a simple background check, if you will. So the work that I've done has been very impactful as it relates to trying to mitigate, if you will, high incarceration by providing a holistic defense approach to individuals.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. Mr. Schloss will be the questioner. Please try to keep to the time limit so we can finish before 8 o'clock.
The next announcement will be that all of your cards have turned into pumpkins. All right, this is a lightning round. Please limit your answer to 10 seconds. I'm serious about that. Same question to each candidate. Please tell us, and who's the first?
Ms. Dillard Russo.
Ms. Dillard Russo, what is the best trait that you will bring to the bench as a judge?
Absolutely. I'll bring good, sound fairness. I'll bring good quality calmness. And I'll also bring a temperament of compassion.
My maturity. I am a candidate who has raised family, children. I've even lost a child in my 20s and in his 20s. I bring my judicial experience to the bench. I also bring my compassion.
Thank you. All right, similar question. Ms. Dillard Russo, what is the worst trait you bring to the bench?
My need for perfection. So I know that I'll be, studying my cases, I'll be reading, I'll be making sure that I'm making sound, good judicial decisions.
I have a tendency to be very long when it comes to sentencing. I take sentencing very important. It is my only opportunity in some cases before that litigant, and I want to be sure that people coming into the system leaving our system better, healthier, and more equipped than they came in.
Thank you. And the last lightning question, what would you change or modify in the 46th District Court? Mr. Dillard Russo.
Absolutely. I would first want to implement the specialty courts that are lacking. And if I'm elected, I will join, again, the 2 court administrators in getting those programs off the ground, especially Operation Drive, which has proven to be very successful in other courts. It is a necessity at the 46th.
I believe that we have an overlooked segment of our population. We have a lot of specialty courts, but I am seeing more and more people 50 plus coming into the criminal justice system for the very first time.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. That concludes the time for questions. The candidates will now be given 1 minute to make their closing statement in the reverse order of opening statements, and we will begin with Judge Nance.
I come to you with passion, maturity, experience, competence, and efficiency. Being a judge requires life experience and a depth of knowledge, not just moving from job to job and resume building. I have been a wife, mother, again raised a family, survived the devastation of a loss. I'm honest, truthful, resilient in the face of adversity. I have the integrity to do the right thing. I make tough decisions. Over the course of 12 years, I've been rated extremely well qualified, outstanding, and again, I share with you my award for judicial excellence, which I was very proud of. These people know exactly what they're doing when they make these decisions and ratings and determinations. I humbly ask for your vote of confidence on November 5th and appreciate you all coming out tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Ms. Dillon-Rousseau.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I appreciate the support that I've been getting from everyone here. We need leadership on the bench that embodies the values of accountability, fairness, and respect for the law. As your judge, I will work tirelessly, as I've said, to rebuild the public trust in our court, in this seat in particular, and make it a place where fairness and transparency and accountability are not an exception, it's the norm. Experience does not always equal expertise, and maturity does not always come with age. However, I have demonstrated that throughout my entire legal career that I am an expert in what I do, in public service and at public service. I also have demonstrated maturity in that I have sound, good decision-making acumen, both on the bench when I was and off the bench in my own personal life, and I take responsibility for my actions. And I also demonstrate critical thinking skills. I am the only candidate that will bring true court administrative experience, practical trial experience, and sound judicial experience to the seat at the court. Once elected, I will be happy to join Judge Arvin and Judge Johnson in hitting the ground running. There is no learning curve because I've been there. So if I'm elected, I promise you that I will serve this community well, and I will be seeking your support on November 5th.
Thank you. The sponsors would like to thank the candidates for their participation. For further nonpartisan information on these candidates, check the League of Women Voters website for our voter guide, lwvoa.org, or connect with vote411.com. You just put in your address and the voter guide will come up. When known, rebroadcast times of this forum will be on the LWVOA and the OCBA websites. The League of Women Voters is funded by contributions from concerned businesses and citizens. Our membership is open to women and men over the age of 16. Remember, you can vote at your community's early voting location on October 26th through November 3rd, or at your precinct on November 5th. Democracy is not a spectator sport. Thank you for coming.